So yeah, thanks once again for the invitation, and also to QUT and Tim and the ADSN crew for organizing this event. I'm super excited to be part of all the International Women's Day activities. And honestly, it feels like yesterday that I was attending sessions and hearing about all these inspiring women speak. So it feels a bit strange that I'm now on the other side of that. So as Kerry mentioned, I'm a lecturer in the School of Maths and Stats. And I try to work on the full spectrum of data science research. So from theoretical foundations and algorithm development to also getting involved in its direct applications. So mostly in environmental and biomedical applications, things like improving how we can forecast floods using data and models, and also in improving modeling of aneurysm formation and rupture in the brain. So as you can probably tell, I feel like I have my fingers in lots of pies. A few topics I'm specifically interested in include sequential Bayesian inference, Monte Carlo approximations, and the stochastic analysis of these methods so that we can understand more rigorously how and why these methods work as well as they do or when they don't. And I'm now delving into some probabilistic machine learning and generative modeling as well. So I have an interdisciplinary background in engineering and science, and I guess my inability to define myself was already clear at the bachelor's level because I studied a double degree in engineering and maths. And after a brief stint in industry, I decided to go back and do a PhD in engineering here at UNSW on a topic called data assimilation. And the great thing about the PhD is that it's a really good opportunity to explore your curiosity and your interests almost entirely on your own terms, which I definitely got to do because I had such supportive supervisors. So Professor Ashish Sharma and Lucy Marshall, who's also an amazing champion of diversity and equity. And over time, I felt like I wanted to delve deeper into the mathematical foundations of the methods I was working with. So I started talking to more mathematicians and probabilists as my PhD progressed and started doing more research on the fundamental side of things and just really enjoyed it. So much so that I ended up moving halfway across the world to Germany to do a postdoc in the mathematics of data assimilation methods. So I guess I would say my interdisciplinary background is mainly what drew me to data science. Because as I see it, data science is in itself a very interdisciplinary field, and we've heard that from a lot of the speakers today and also Anna. So in some sense, it is quite welcoming in that it draws on statistics, mathematics, computer science, as well as lots of innovations in domains like in many domains in science and engineering. So this combination of both applied and pure research is really quite nice, and the ability to just almost research in any particular facet. And I guess this sort of leads me to some of the highs and lows about my journey into data science. So the PhD was a really great opportunity to explore my diverse interests, but I often wondered if this was really the right approach or whether I should have stayed in one field so that I could better define myself, because you might find that certain disciplines really like to have a very well-defined structure. So for a long time, I felt a bit identityless professionally, because I was sort of a mathematician and sort of a hydrologist, and sometimes it felt like I didn't really belong to either discipline. And since finishing my PhD, I knew that I wanted to pursue an academic career, which meant that I needed to focus on a specific department to fit into. So it was quite fortuitous that data science was really starting to take off as a discipline around the time that I was searching for jobs, because it felt like the right academic home for my mixed interdisciplinary background. I think the postdoc was also one of the most stimulating experiences. exploring a new research field that was quite a big change for my PhD, and also living in a new country was simultaneously one of the most rewarding and challenging experiences. I was really lucky to find a great research group for my postdoc. I had great supervisors who I've learned a lot from, and I've made lifelong friends. And I really loved immersing myself in a different culture. And I think that's one of the best parts of academia, that we just get to collaborate with so many smart people around the world. And one thing I really took away from the postdoc was that there was a strong emphasis on encouraging women to stay in STEM. So not just getting into STEM, but staying in STEM. So we often hear about the leaky pipeline, in that we tend to see a drop off of women as we get into higher and higher positions within academia for various reasons, many of which are practical. And there was a lot of emphasis put in place in terms of coaching programs, and also female networking, so that we could really hear from other inspiring female data scientists. And I think a lot of that really helped with just being able to have the confidence to go forward with my career. And so I think it's really important that we continue to focus on programs like that. And we also heard from Isabel, who talked about a lot of the misrepresentation in data collection studies that has disastrous consequences. And I completely agree that this is something that definitely needs much more attention. But in terms of equity and diversity in the workplace, my impression is that the challenges that we face in equity and diversity are not necessarily unique to data science, but probably have similarities to many of the other issues in STEM fields. For instance, unconscious bias is present almost everywhere, and probably very concentrated in many STEM fields, particularly those that are less diverse. And so I've seen measures like unconscious bias training that have been implemented for people on hiring committees. And I've heard firsthand that it's been a really eye-opening experience for many, and that they often uncover biases that they weren't, directly aware of. So I think I'd like to see more of that kind of thing, not just on an executive decision-making level, but for everyone, because, we all do harbor some form of unconscious bias. The other thing I think is really important is to just continue and expand on outreach programs. Isabel talked about sort of the self-selection and how we need to get the attention of females early on, and I completely agree. So at UNSW, we have awesome programs like Girls Do the Maths, which aim to speak to high school students and not just tell them to go into maths, but give them first-hand experience with how fun maths can be in the real world, and also to expose them to really influential, successful female mathematicians and data scientists to show that it is possible. And so I think it's just really important to get in there really early, because it's much more difficult to change entrenched perceptions than it is when you're younger and more impressionable. And of course, events like this are super important, not just to discuss equity and diversity, but to showcase all the amazing things that people are doing, like all of the speakers here today. So thank you once again for the opportunity to talk and for organizing this event.